dressing. And there is no history of paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. There is history of orthopnea present, sir, since 2 months. There is no history of chest pain, palpitations, or syncope. The history of abdominal distension started 1 year back. Noticed almost simultaneously with the shortness of breath, sir. So this abdominal distension is insidious onset and gradually progressive. There is no issue of decreased urine output and no issue of constipation. And there is history of facial puffiness noticed 9 months back, sir. And there is history of swelling of bilateral lower limbs. Started 9 months back, initially around the ankle, now progressed up to the knee.
Yes.
There is history of easy fatigability since 9 months, and there is no history of jaundice or hematemesis or melena, and no history of prolonged fever and or recent weight loss, sir. Yes, sir. Coming to past history, 2.5 years back, she had history of fever, weight loss, and loss of appetite. 2.5 years back, she was evaluated and told that there is a fluid accumulation in the right lung and aspirated and diagnosed as tuberculosis, and was on course of anti-tuberculosis treatment, sir, for 9 months. She has taken the course of ATT for 9 months, sir. And there is no issue of prior chest surgeries or no issue of any radiation therapy, sir.
Yes.
Personal history: appetite decreased, sleep disturbed since 3 months. She takes mixed diet, bowel and bladder are normal, and she is not an alcoholic and not a smoker, sir. Menstrual history: irregular, normal cycles. Family history: no family member has suffered similar illness, sir.
Siblings?
No, sir. Unmarried, sir. She is 21-year female, unmarried, sir.
No. Any sisters,
No, sir. Yes, sir. Others, as per her history, others are normal, sir.
Yes, okay. So summarize the history.
Sir, 21-year female, unmarried, came with chief complaints of shortness of breath and abdominal distension since 1 year, with bilateral lower limbs swelling since 9 months, with history of orthopnea, and there is history of easy fatigability since 9 months, with past history of pleural effusion, extrapulmonary TB, received anti-tuberculosis treatment therapy, sir.
Why extrapulmonary tuberculosis? He had pleural effusion, no? Tuberculosis pleural effusion.
Yes, sir. Tuberculosis pleural effusion.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Tuberculosis pleural effusion, received ATT therapy, sir, 9 months.
Yes.
Yes.
So, what are your inferences from the history?
Sir, inferences are predominantly right-sided heart failure symptoms, sir. With background history of tuberculosis.
Yes,
sir.
Okay. And significant abdominal distension.
Sir, significant abdominal distension compared to the pedal edema, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Why do you think it's right-sided? Because she had orthopnea and orthopnea.
Yes, sir. Left-sided is also possible, sir. But she told initially her main complaint is so left side also possible, sir, with these symptoms.
So out of which is the most specific symptom of left heart failure, left side heart failure?
So, paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, sir. There is no issue of paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea in this case, sir.
Yes. So, orthopnea can occur even with right side lesions also.
Yes, sir.
When there is gross ascites, whenever the patient lies, diaphragms will be pushed up. So that can compress the lung, breathlessness. So orthopnea is not a definite sign of left heart failure. But here there is the absence of PNDs.
Yes,
So in the presence of orthopnea, the PNDs are not there. So the chance of having left heart failure are less likely.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what do you think it is? What are the possibilities you?
Sir, my possibilities, sir, first possibility is constrictive pericarditis, sir, because there is abdominal with the background of tuberculosis and with abdominal distension preceding the pedal edema, and there is a disproportionate abdominal distension compared to the pedal edema. I'm thinking first possibility constrictive pericarditis, sir.
What are situations where the ascites predominates over the edema in other parts? What are all the conditions wherein the ascites predominates over edema of the other parts?
Sir, cardiac causes and non-cardiac causes, sir. Cardiac causes like constrictive pericarditis and Budd-Chiari syndrome, they can cause predominant ascites, sir. Non-cardiac syndromes like chronic liver disease and
no. First you cardiac, still there. Cardiac. What is the most differential diagnosis of constrictive pericarditis?
Restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy also ascites can occur. And
yes, sir.
What are the other cardiac?
Tricuspid, organic tricuspid disease, sir.
Tricuspid regurgitation?
Yes, sir, can cause ascites, sir.
Stenosis?
Tricuspid stenosis and tricuspid regurgitation can cause ascites, sir.
Yes.
And
anything else? Can there be portal hypertension associated with cardiac conditions?
In pulmonary AV fistula, sir. Portopulmonary hypertension is there, sir.
Pulmonary hypertension can be associated with portal hypertension.
Yes, sir.
So when there is pulmonary hypertension, there can be associated portal hypertension also that can cause ascites. Anything else?
Rare cases like SVC obstruction also. SVC obstruction.
SVC obstruction causes ascites, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
IVC obstruction or SVC obstruction?
IVC obstruction.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what are the others
involving?
That's over. Restrictive cardiomyopathy is over. Yes. Other conditions? You said.
Yes, sir.
What are non-cardiac conditions?
Non-cardiac conditions like chronic liver disease, some is malignancy, sir. Peritoneal malignancy can cause ascites, and chronic kidney disease also can cause ascites, sir.
And any infectious diseases like tuberculosis?
Yes, tuberculosis peritonitis, yes, sir. Tuberculosis.
Yeah. Tuberculosis abdomen also can cause ascites. Or any malignant abdominal malignancies also can cause ascites. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So your first possibility is constrictive pericarditis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why it is not a restrictive cardiomyopathy?
Sir, restrictive cardiomyopathy generally occurs in elderly, sir.
Why people restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir?
Idiopathic cardiomyopathy generally presents in the adults, sir. And
what idiopathic?
Sir, idiopathic restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy itself is not clear, no? It's always a dilemma.
Yes, sir.
So, any specific cause that is pointed out for restrictive cardiomyopathy?
Amyloidosis, sir. Amyloidosis is the most common.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy, you mean to say EMF?
EMF and amyloidosis also both can cause restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you mean to say etiology is not known for EMF, no? Idiopathic, you mean to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
And there is background issue of TB, sir. Indirectly supports the diagnosis of constrictive pericarditis.
Okay.
And there is Ascites precox or abdominal distension early
In
case of constrictive pericarditis, sir.
yes.
Yes, sir. And there can be paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, sir, in case of restrictive cardiomyopathy. Because of regurgitation can happen, sir, in case of restrictive cardiomyopathy. It can lead to PND orthopnea, sir.
Maybe without regurgitation, PND orthopnea
they can cause, sir, because of diastolic dysfunction, because of elevated filling pressures can cause PND orthopnea, sir.
Yes, biventricular involvement is common.
Yes, sir.
The biventricular involvement is common. Not only right side, left side is involvement also can occur that cause pulmonary congestion, pulmonary artery hypertension. So that can result in PNDs.
Yes,
can cause PNDs. If there is a PND in the history, that is a point in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy rather than constrictive pericarditis.
Constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Anything else? What are the other differentiations in the history?
Arrhythmias more common with restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Okay, why constrictive pericarditis, atrial fibrillation can't occur?
They have given both are common in constrictive pericarditis and restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir. Arrhythmias. And sometimes
it's more common with restrictive cardiomyopathy. Because atrial fibrillation in India in constrictive pericarditis, what is the incidence?
25%, sir, 25 to 30.
It's much less. It's around 10% only. Whether Western series it's almost 30%.
Okay.
So the incidence of atrial fibrillation is less common in India compared to Western world. So arrhythmias are more common with restrictive cardiomyopathy compared to constrictive pericarditis. Anything else? More important. What is the pattern of distribution of edema? Edema usually it's a general edema. Something like anasarca with restrictive cardiomyopathy, including facial puffiness. Whereas constrictive pericarditis, upper segment is relatively thin and emaciated most of the times. Ascites is dominant in constrictive pericarditis. Whereas in restrictive cardiomyopathy, it is even facial puffiness and generalized edema is more common.
Okay.
And anything else? Systemic symptoms?
Systemic symptoms seen in constrictive pericarditis.
Constrictive pericarditis. Constrictive pericarditis, history of tuberculosis may be there, but there won't be any prolonged conditions or exacerbations like things, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, history of tuberculosis points towards constrictive pericarditis. Anything else? Embolic episodes?
Embolic episodes are more in favor of RCM, sir.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay. Yes.
And
in the history only, we are discussing only the history.
Yes, sir. If there is
prolonged course.
Prolonged course, constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Yeah, restrictive cardiomyopathy, there won't be any prolonged course. Actually, sometimes people present with 3-4 years of recurrent edema, all those things.
Okay, sir.
Then history of aspiration. Pleural aspiration or pericardial aspiration, all those things, they suggest
constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Constrictive pericarditis. History of radiation.
History of radiation generally points towards RCM, sir, but it can cause constrictive pericarditis also, sir.
History of radiation, RCM, why?
It can involve the muscles, sir. Cardiomyopathy can occur, sir, because of radiation. And pericardial inflammation, pericarditis also can cause, sir.
Radiation induced pericarditis is more common, no? Any history of radiation treatment that favors constriction rather than restriction. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So these are all the points in the history which you have to analyze and see. So here, what are the points in favor of constrictive pericarditis in the history?
There is no issue of PND, sir. There is dominant ascites. The ascites predominantly involved, and ascites earlier than pedal edema, and there is history of pleural valve aspiration and history of PTB and ATT and ATP, and there is no history of palpitations, sir.
No history of
No history of radiation also, sir.
Yes.
So these are the points, sir.
These are the points in favor of
constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Restriction. Okay. Okay.
Sir, coming to examination, sir. General examination. Patient is cooperative. Height is 154 centimeter. Weight is 45 kg. BMI 18 kg per meter square. Pallor present. Bilateral pedal edema, pitting pedal edema present up to knees. There is no cyanosis, jaundice, clubbing, lymphadenopathy, and ascites present, sir. Shifting dullness present. There is no signs of chronic liver disease, sir. And vitals: temperature febrile, pulse rate 84 per minute, regular, normal volume and character, no radial or no radiofemoral delay, all pulses felt. And blood pressure in the supine position, right upper limb 110 by 80, left upper limb 110 by 80, lower limb 120 mm systolic pressure, sir, both lower limbs. And pulsus paradoxus absent, sir. Respiratory rate 20 per minute, regular, thoracoabdominal. Saturation 98% in all four limbs, sir. Jugular venous pressure elevated 10 centimeters from the sternal angle with prominent X and Y descent. There is positive Kussmaul sign present, sir. These are general examination findings, sir.
So 10 centimeters in which position?
From sitting position, sir.
That you should mention, no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 10 centimeters above the sternal angle in sitting posture. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. A, what about A and V?
A and V are present, sir, but there is prominent X and Y. A and V were normal, sir, with prominent X and Y descent, sir.
Okay.
Coming to the precardial examination, sir, inspection and palpation comment, trachea central, chest is bilaterally symmetrical. Apex bit is not palpable very well, sir. I tried in even left lateral position. There is no palpable sounds or palpable. There are no pulsations, palpable pulsations or thrills, and there are no scars and no sinuses. Coming to percussion, left heart border corresponding to apex, right heart border retrosternal, sir. Left second intercostal space is resonant. Bilateral supraclavicular area resonant, sir. There is dullness in the right fifth intercostal space in the midclavicular line, sir. And, coming to auscultation, sir. First heart sound normal intensity. Second heart sound both components are heard. Normal intensity, normal split, and normal respiratory variation, sir. There is no S3 or no S4. And there is a high pitched early diastolic sound, which is better heard with the diaphragm. Pericardial knock present, sir. There are no audible murmurs and no other additional sounds, sir.
Okay.
Respiratory system examination, bilateral decreased air entry in the both lung bases, sir. Per abdomen, there is hepatomegaly, liver span 16 centimeters, and ascites present, shifting dullness present. There is no splenomegaly, sir.
Yes.
Other system normal, sir. CNS system. My probable professional diagnosis, sir.
No. What are the other? What else would you look for in a case of suspected constrictive pericarditis? Apart from the clinical findings you have mentioned, what are the other things which you should look for? Because already you might have come to a reasonable conclusion, no? That is possibly constrictive pericarditis. So once you arrive at the diagnosis of constrictive pericarditis, what are the other points would you look for in the clinical examination?
Sir.
Any areas of retraction?
Sir, actually, I looking for the retraction, sir, but because she is female, I could not palpate the systolic retraction of the apex, sir.
Where do you expect the retraction to be there?
So near the apex only, sir.
So what do you call it?
Skoda sign. Skoda sign.
What is Skoda sign?
Apical retraction will be there, sir.
Apex, why should it retract? Paraapical. Is it apical or paraapical retraction?
Paraapical, sir. Paraapical.
It's a paraapical retraction. Okay. What else? Any other area would you look for any retraction, sir?
Subscapular retraction. Broadbent.
Subscapular.
Broadbent sign.
The posterior axillary line we expect.
So what is that?
In case of pericardial effusion, we can get dullness, sir. The subscapular.
You are discussing constrict pericarditis here.
Yes.
Pericardial effusion. So what is that sign called? Subscapular.
Broadbent sign.
Broadbent. Oh. Okay, you should look for any retraction in the subscapular area, which is called a Broadbent sign. So paraapical retraction is Skoda sign. So all these things you should look for once you think it is constrict pericarditis. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So summarize the clinical findings.
Sir, pallor present, bilateral pitting pedal edema up to knees present, ascites, shifting dullness present, and jugular venous pressure elevated 10 cm from the sternal angle in sitting position with A and V are normal, X and Y descents are prominent. There is positive Kussmaul sign, and apex pit is not palpable, sir. There is a pericardial knock present, sir, without any audible murmurs.
Okay. So what is the clinical diagnosis?
Sir, clinical diagnosis is constrictive pericarditis, sir, with past history of pleural TB, received ATT. Now in sinus rhythm, NYHA functional class 3 without any evidence of PAH and no signs of infected endocarditis.
And heart failure?
Sir, in heart failure, sir.
Yeah, JVP is significantly elevated, no?
Elevated, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So you said the X and Y descents are prominent, eh?
Yes,
there is a Kussmaul sign.
Yes, sir.
How did you
Yes,
get the Kussmaul sign when the JVP is already 10 centimeters above the sternal angle in sitting
Yes,
posture? Would it be possible to elicit the Kussmaul sign?
Sir, there is no fall in the JVP, sir. There is no fall in the JVP, sir, with inspiration. So
when the JVP is going behind the angle of the jaw, is it possible to know whether the JVP is dropping with inspiration or not? What is Kussmaul sign? Define Kussmaul sign.
Sir, inspiratory either fall or raise in JVP. Sorry, sir. Inspiratory raise in JVP or not falling JVP, sir, with inspiration.
Okay. So when does it happen? What are the conditions which cause Kussmaul sign?
Sir, Kussmaul sign can be seen in constrictive pericarditis, sir. Can be seen in RVMI, and can be seen in pulmonary embolism.
And what is the commonest cause of Kussmaul sign?
COPD can cause, sir.
COPD and right heart failure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When there is right heart failure, RV failure, naturally RV won't be able to increase the stroke volume or output, even though venous return increases, even though the preload increases, the stroke volume doesn't rise.
Yes, sir.
So in that case, naturally, there won't be any fall in the JVP with inspiration.
Yes, sir.
So, and what are the other causes of Kushmal sign?
Sir, can be seen in pulmonary embolism, pulmonary hypertension, sir. RVMI, and can be seen in restrictive cardiomyopathy also, sir.
Because during inspiration there won't be any RV inflow, no? RV inflow
Yes,
won't
sir.
be. In that case,
Yes, sir.
automatically jugular pressure should rise.
Yes, sir.
During inspiration,
Yes, sir.
RV inflow won't increase, no, in cardiac tamponade?
Yes, sir.
So naturally, what will happen?
There will be rise at JVP.
Okay. So these are all the causes of Kushmal sign. Yes.
Yes.
So what are the other possibilities you think of?
Diagnosis, second possibility is restrictive cardiomyopathy, I'm thinking, sir. Sir.
Yes.
And
cardiomyopathy, yes.
Yes, sir.
So what are the points in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy? What are the points against restrictive cardiomyopathy?
Restrictive cardiomyopathy in favor, Kushmal sign could be there in case of restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir. And pericardial knock, it is an early diastolic sound. Sometimes there is confusion between S3 and pericardial knock, so it can be S3 also, sir, clinically. So, and negative points are apex beat is not palpable, sir. In case of restrictive cardiomyopathy, generally apex beat is palpable. And there are no murmurs, sir, and there is no palpable P2, sir, or audible P2. No signs of PAH, sir.
Signs of pulmonary hypertension are common with restrictive cardiomyopathy because of biventricular involvement.
Yes, sir.
Regurgitant murmurs are common.
Yes, sir.
S4 and S3 can be there.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anything else? Apex is usually palpable. Here, constrictive pericarditis apex won't be clearly palpable. And anything else?
Examination wise,
what else in restrictive cardiomyopathy? Any other clinical findings specific for restrictive cardiomyopathy? Anybody?
Sir,
you won't see
cardiomegaly.
Presence of pericardial knock.
Pericardial knock, if you are sure, it's okay, but sometimes it is difficult to differentiate it from S3. S3 is possible with this restrictive cardiomyopathy, no?
Palpable P2, sir, loud P2. It is a restrictive cardiomyopathy is more likely.
Yeah, pulmonary hypertension is there. That's a point in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy. And
sir,
one more finding. Any pulsations in the left third space?
Yes.
What does it indicate? What causes pulsations in the left third space?
So it can be infundibular pulsations, sir.
Yeah.
Infundibular.
So EMF RV infundibular is very much dilated.
Yes, sir.
Infundibular pulsations can be there in restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay, whereas constrictive pericarditis is highly unlikely to have pulsations in the left parasternal zone. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So RVMF infundibulum is very much dilated.
Yes, sir.
Infundibulum can cause pulsations. Okay. Yes. Any other differentiation?
Sir, could be idiopathic PAH also, sir. Pulmonary arterial hypertension also. I'm thinking, sir, because she is
the restriction versus
Oh, sorry.
Constriction. In the clinical findings, apart from those things which we already discussed. Anybody?
So wave prominence in JVP, sir, secondary to TR.
So constrictive pericarditis don't have TR, huh?
They can
So
have
recurrent lesions are more common with restrictive cardiomyopathies.
More common, but TR can occur even with constrictive pericarditis also. So, anything else? Lung findings.
Stenotic pneumothorax are more common, sir, in CCP.
Involvement of lung parenchyma. Sometimes the lung parenchyma can get involved, leading to lung fibrosis and the rib crowding. The rib crowding can be there. Any chest wall involvement, deformities, rib crowding, all these things goes in favor of fast stage tuberculosis. Okay, so they are in favor of constrictive pericarditis rather than restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Okay.
Any lung signs?
Yes, sir.
And parenchymal signs, lung fibrosis, decreased air entry there, or signs of any effusion, past effusion, or any rib crowding indicating pulmonary fibrosis. So all these findings, they are in favor of constrictive pericarditis rather than restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay.
So whether stenotic lesions are more common in constrictive pericarditis, sir? MS findings or MS or TS findings are more common in CCP, sir? AV groove calcification, can it cause?
Not calcification, it is constriction.
Constriction. Okay.
Constriction can occur around the AV grooves. So sometimes the clinical findings can mimic mitral stenosis.
MS or TS.
Yeah, but this is very rare. That is called external mitral stenosis. Constriction around the left AV groove can cause stenosis of the AV groove, and that can result in pulmonary artery hypertension also. Findings similar to mitral stenosis. Okay.
Right.
So that can be there rarely in
Sir, the presence of pulsus paradoxus are almost 1/3 of the patients of constriction, although it is a sign of tamponade, but almost 20 to 30% of the patients of constriction have pulsus paradoxus. While in restriction, there is no pulsus paradoxus.
Yeah, but pulsus paradox is also uncommon with constrictive pericarditis. Not that common. Only 1/3 of the patients will have. If it is there, it helps.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anything else?
AF also, sir? No.
Yeah, presence for atrial fibrillation, that is more common with
Restrictive cardiomyopathy.
or ventricular arrhythmia, they are more common with
Yes.
restrictive cardiomyopathy
Restrictive cardiomyopathy. Yes.
compared to constrictive pericarditis. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So any other differential diagnosis you want to entertain?
Sir, idiopathic PAH, sir. Primary PAH and want to consider, sir, because
consider. Where is the evidence of PAH clinically?
But clinically it's not there.
Without PAH, how can you entertain?
Yes, sir. Yes,
clinical evidence should be there, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What are the other conditions which involve specifically the right heart, causing right heart failure?
Sir, in case of
cardiomyopathies. So here basically it's only a right heart involvement, no? Left heart is not affected at all. So you should consider the differential diagnosis of
right heart involvement.
So where
can we think of an Epstein, sir? Can we think of even Epstein, sir?
Why Epstein's? Epstein's, what will be the clinical findings like? Do you get such a significant elevation of JVP in Epstein's?
No, sir. No,
JVP is usually unremarkable in Epstein's because RA is very much elevated, it is very accommodative. That's the reason why jugular venous pressure is not much elevated in Epstein's. And more importantly,
they can have cyanosis, and they can have cyanosis, and they can have tricuspid stenosis or tricuspid regurgitation, sir, Epstein's.
Yeah.
Cyanosis is not a must for Epstein's.
Yeah.
Yeah, cyanosis may be there. If there is right heart failure, cyanosis may be there in Epstein's. Okay. More importantly, the splitting of the sounds. First heart sound is split. Second sound is split. Multiple heart sounds.
Yes.
Opening snap, third heart sound, fourth heart sound. Multiple heart sounds are very common with Epstein's. So if there is a single first heart sound and single second heart sound, or a narrowly split second heart sound, the Epstein's is usually very unlikely, unless it is a very mild form of Epstein's. Majority of the times, first heart sound is widely split. Why?
Because AML is prolonged, sir. Sorry, tricuspid leaflet, anterior tricuspid leaflet is movement is prolonged, sir. Closure. Closing movement
The
is prolonged,
excursion is
sir.
more.
Yeah. Closure is delayed. Delayed closure of the anterior tricuspid leaflet. So delayed closure is responsible for wide splitting of the first heart sound. And there is wide splitting of the second heart sound also in Epstein's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there will be both. First heart sound is widely split, and also the second heart sound.
Yes, sir.
And multiple other sounds like opening snaps, S4, S3, all these things are very common with Epstein's. Multiple heart sounds are very common. Which is the other condition that causes multiple heart sound?
Truncus.
Hmm?
Truncus
Truncus.
arteriosus.
Wait, truncus. Those are clicks on the truncal
Truncal
wall.
valve clicks.
Clicks.
MVT, sir.
Mitral valve prolapse.
What is the other condition which causes multiple heart sounds?
Mitral valve prolapse.
Splitting of the first heart sound, splitting of the second heart sound.
ASD.
TAPVC.
Large ASD. Large ASD.
No, not ASD. It's a TAPVC. TAPVC, multiple heart sounds are also common. So, but TAPVC is an increased flow situation, whereas Epstein's is a decreased pulmonary flow situation. So that is the basic difference. Otherwise, in TAPVC also there can be multiple heart sounds. Splitting of the first and second sounds, ejection clicks are possible, opening sounds are possible. Okay. So any other differential diagnosis apart from Epstein's? So Epstein's is unlikely because here the JVP is significantly elevated and there are no murmurs of either tricuspid stenosis or tricuspid regurgitation. Multiple heart sounds are not there.
Yes, sir.
So for these reasons, Epstein's is unlikely. Next.
Yes.
What other
RVEMF, sir?
RVEMF already discussed, no?
Restrictive cardiomyopathy. Sir, could be organic tricuspid, organic tricuspid disease, sir. TSTR involved.
What type of organic disease involves tricuspid?
Arsenoid syndrome, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Syndrome can involve the tricuspid pulmonary. Yes.
Sir.
So how did
but here there is no prominent V wave, sir. Here there is prominent X and Y descent. In case of tricuspid stenosis, Y descent will be slowed, sir. Slow Y descent. And if it is TR, V wave will be prominent, and there can be systolic pulsations, liver pulsations also could be there, sir.
and
There
other
is there are symptoms of other syndrome like flushing, diarrhea is not there, sir.
Yes. Okay, these things are not there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anything else? Either anomaly, RV cardiomyopathy.
Sir. ARVD, sir.
Okay, arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia.
Right ventricular dysplasia, sir. But they are more present. They will have arrhythmia, sir. There are no arrhythmia symptoms, and there is no family history, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Sir. And sir, that there could be portopulmonary hypertension, but there are no signs of pulmonary hypertension, sir.
Here,
Here,
portopulmonary hypertension
causing right-sided heart failure, sir.
Mhm.
But there are no signs of pulmonary hypertension, sir. Here.
Okay, there is no evidence of pulmonary hypertension.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And sir, can we consider severe pulmonary stenosis, sir, in this patient?
So you explain how do you consider pulmonary stenosis?
Sir, severe pulmonary stenosis with right heart failure.
Right heart failure AV will be very prominent in JVP.
Yes,
There
sir.
will be significant left parasternal lifting in PS with intact ventricular septum. PS with intact ventricular septum. There is no murmur at all, no? In this, there is no murmur.
No murmur, sir.
Ejection click will be there. P2 is diminished in intensity.
Okay, sir.
P2 is diminished in intensity. So all these things are absent in this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So PS you can't consider.
Okay.
Of course, if you have PS with right heart failure, the murmur may not be prominent, but still some murmur is evident, even with right heart failure in PS. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Anything else? Is it dysplastic tricuspid valve?
Dysplastic tricuspid valve, sir.
Congenital dysplasia of the tricuspid valve can occur, or something like tricuspid. Hello? Atresia. Something like a variant of tricuspid atresia.
Sir, tricuspid atresia survival
Early
up to this age
presentation
is
will
rare, sir, and they can have cyanosis, sir,
No,
and they will have.
it's a dysplastic tricuspid valve. Not totally atretic. Forward flow will be there, but it's stenosed. But it's stenosed. But here AV height is not increased, no?
Yes,
So
sir.
if there's any stenosis of the tricuspid valve, AV height should increase. Y descent should reduce.
Slow. Yes,
You
sir.
said Y descent is faster. Y descent is very prominent.
Yes, sir.
So absence of prominent A wave and presence of prominent Y descent rules out any stenosis of the tricuspid valve.
Tricuspid valve. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So you think it's a pericardial knock? Why it is not an S3?
Sir, this is relatively early, sir. Immediately after A2, this is high pitched, sharp, high pitched and sharp sound, sir.
How early it is?
Sir, immediately after A2, sir. Sorry, immediately after S2.
Immediately after S2. Okay. What is the timing? How long after S2? How many milliseconds after S2 a pericardial knock comes?
Sir, between 80 to 100, sir. 80 to 100 milliseconds.
In various diseases, what are the abnormal findings basing on their time of occurrence? You describe which is the earliest.
Sir, earliest is opening snap, sir, in diastole after S2. Opening snap, it can occur from 40 milliseconds to 140 milliseconds, sir. And followed by pericardial.
Very tight time, it is 40 to 60 milliseconds.
Yes, sir. Between to 40 to, yes, sir. Pericardial knock between 80 to 100 milliseconds, sir. Then S3, sir. S3 is around 120 to 140 milliseconds, sir.
Before S3, anything comes?
Tumor plop.
Tumor plop could be there, sir.
Yeah.
Tumor
tumor plop would be earlier than S3.
Yes, sir.
Right?
S4 in the late diastole, sir.
Okay. So will you be able to differentiate between 100 milliseconds and 120 milliseconds?
No,
By your
sir.
skills?
No, sir. No, sir.
Then?
No, sir.
Yes.
Sir, pericardial knock is high pitched, sir.
Yeah,
and
good.
sharp sound. And S3 is low pitched dull, sir. Pericardial knock can be heard all over, sir. S3 is localized, sir. Yes,
S3 localized. Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
association findings, sir. S3 can have regurgitation lesions, volume overload things, sir. Pericardial knock without any murmur, sir.
And usually S3 is associated with cardiomegaly. There will be
Yes, sir.
cardiomegaly. Clinically also there will be significant cardiomegaly. Yes. Anything else? Maneuvers.
Sir, maneuvers with pericardial knock increases with inspiration, sir. And S3 it will not change, sir, much with respiration.
RVS3 won't change, yeah?
RVS3 will change, sir.
Okay.
Disappears on standing, sir. S3.
Which one?
S3. Low pitched sound.
Why it disappears? Why it disappears on standing? Because where inflow decreases. So intensity may decrease. Okay. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
ECG?
Yes, sir. I'm projecting, sir.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, right heart failure due to PH, will we get all signs of PH clinically, sir?
Why not? Otherwise, how do you know what the right heart failure to PH or secondary to something else? So that is what said is that's a very late phenomena wherein RV failure is very severe. The RV output decreases. It comes to a low output state. In such situation, all the signs of PAH may not be evident, but that is very rare. It's almost a pre-terminal. Otherwise, in majority of the situations where there is severe PAH and right heart failure, signs of PAH will be evident. Signs of PAH will be clinically evident. Only in low output state, very pre-terminal stage, where the forward output is considerably decreased, then we may not have signs of severe PAH. Okay.
Sir, can you see the ECG, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sir, this is no 4-channel 12-lead ECG, sir, with the lead 2 as rhythm chip showing low voltage complexes with the QRS axis around 90 degrees, sir. One there is biphasic complexes, and there are mild T inversions in V4 to V6. There is no enlargement of right atrium, or there is no evidence suggestive of left atrial enlargement, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
There is no chamber enlargement, sir. By this, I could not make out, sir. Chamber enlargement.
Only low voltage complex, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are the conditions which cause low voltage complexes?
Sir, low voltage complexes could be because of pericardial effusion, or could be because of massive pleural effusion in case of obesity, females with pendulous breasts, and it can be seen in also cases of restricted amyloidosis. Also, they can have low voltage complexes, sir.
And lung conditions, emphysema?
Emphysema can cause low voltage complexes, sir.
No.
Hypothyroid.
Hypothyroid. Okay. How do we differentiate? What are the points in favor of constriction? What are the points in favor of restriction in ECG?
Sir, associated arrhythmia. So, in case of effusive constrictive pericarditis, also they can have low voltage complexes, sir. In case of constrictive, if there are arrhythmias, it is more in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy. And if there is specific chamber enlargement, is more in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir.
Which chambers?
Sir, bilateral atria more enlarged, sir, in the initial stage. Then,
bilateral point in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay. Anything else?
Conduction disturbances more with restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Conduction disturbances can be there with restrictive cardiomyopathy. And signs of pulmonary artery hypertension?
Yes, sir. Signs of pulmonary arterial hypertension also. In favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy. In case of restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay.
Yes.
And yes. Low voltage complexes.
Low voltage complexes can be seen in both, sir.
Voltage are common.
No, sir. In case of amyloidosis, sir.
Amyloidosis only.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you don't
Amyloidosis.
low voltage complexes with restrictive cardiomyopathy. The other thing is, if there is a left wall regurgitation, left AV wall regurgitation, LV forces can be prominent.
Prominent.
So prominent LV force is a point in favor of a restrictive cardiomyopathy rather than constrictive cardiomyopathy. Yes. Right. Okay.
Shall I go to X-ray, sir?
Yeah, yes.
Sir, this is chest X-ray, sir. Can you see, sir? So this is chest X-ray PA view, showing cardiomegaly.
Can you store and
CT ratio. Yes, sir. Mild, sir.
Still ECG is there. Can you switch over to X-ray? Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Mild cardiomegaly is there, sir. 0.55. And there is a bilateral pleural effusion present, sir. And there is a thickening of the pericardium seen, sir. Sir?
Where thickening of the pericardium?
Sorry, calcification of pericardium, sir. Calcification of pericardium in the left border extending into the diaphragmatic surface also, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. There is
what else would you look for?
There is dilatation of pulmonary artery will look for, sir, for pulmonary hypertension. There is no dilatation of pulmonary artery. And lung findings also have to see, sir. There is a left upper lobe haziness is there, sir, compared to right, sir.
Yes.
There is pleural effusion, bilateral pleural effusion is there, sir. Obliteration of costophrenic angles.
Yes. Right, cannot be there in restricted cardiomyopathy. Bilateral pleural effusion can be there in restricted cardiomyopathy also.
They can have, sir. They can have, sir.
Yes. How do you differentiate a restricted cardiomyopathy from constrictive pericarditis in X-ray?
Sir, X-ray, if there is
calcification is there, that's a definite finding which favors constriction rather than restriction. In general, what are the differentiating points?
Sir, in RCMP, there can be cardiomegaly, sir. Cardiomegaly is there, RCMP. And there can be enlargement of biatrial enlargement, sir. Right atrial and left atrial enlargement. Left atrial enlargement can be there, sir.
How do you know?
And left atrial. So right atrial enlargement by X-ray, if it is occupying more than 2.5 intercostal space or more than 50% of the mediastinal height.
That's a right atrial, no?
Yes, sir. Left atrial, they can have double density shadow and splaying of carena, sir.
Yes.
If there is a regurgitation, they can have cardiomegaly, depending on the chamber involved, sir. And there can be pulmonary artery dilatation because of PAH, sir.
Yes.
They can have pulmonary venous congestion if there is failure. Pulmonary venous congestion can be there.
Congestion is a point strongly in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy rather than constriction. Yes.
And associated lung problems, sir. If there is collapse or fibrosis, calcifications, lung perihilar lymph node calcification, they are more in favor of constrictive pericarditis. Sir.
Yes, rib crowding. Rib crowding
Yes,
can
sir.
be there. Lung fibrosis.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Any other finding which differentiates?
Apart from pericardial calcification, sir.
Why? How do you know? I say it's an endocardial calcification that can happen with restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In restrictive cardiomyopathy also there can be calcification, but it's an endocardial calcification. How do you know whether it is a pericardial calcification or an endocardial calcification in restrictive cardiomyopathy?
Actually, we have to take the lateral view, sir. The lateral view, we can know, sir. We can differentiate pericardial and endocardial calcifications.
No, even in lateral view, how do you differentiate? That is in the pericardium, no? Pericardium means it's overlying the heart. Whereas endocardium means it is within the cardiac shadow.
Cardiac shadows.
The calcification is seen within the cardiac shadow, well within the cardiac shadow. That is a point indicating an endocardial calcification. Whereas it is on the superficial part of the cardiac shadow, that is pericardial calcification. So pericardial calcification is seen in which angulation? Which angulation? Lateral
views.
Okay, lateral. So this pericardial calcification is commonest. Which surface?
On the anterior and inferior surface.
Anterior, got that. Infero-posterior surface.
Yes.
So, diaphragmatic area and also the posterior surface. Infero-posterior aspect of the pericardium is more commonly calcified.
Okay, sir.
Any other finding in the clinical findings we discussed? Presence of infundibular shadow.
Yes, sir.
In endomyocardial fibrosis, the infundibulum is very much dilated.
Dilated, sir.
It causes a bulge between the pulmonary artery segment and the LV shadow. So if there is an infundibular shadow that is projected on the left heart border, that's a point in favor of?
Is favor of EMF restrictive cardiomyopathy.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy. So what are the situations where infundibulum is prominent? What are all the conditions where the infundibulum is dilated?
Sir,
Sir, Epstein's.
Enumerate all the conditions which causes a very prominent infundibular shadow.
Epstein, sir. RVMF. CCTGA will be infundibular dilation. Infundibular inversion will be the CCTGA.
Why it is prominent? It's not prominent, no? Any other condition? DCRV?
ARV, sir.
Double chambered right ventricle. The infundibular shadow is very prominent. Any other congenital conditions where infundibular shadow is very prominent?
TOF absent pulmonary valve, sir.
Exactly. Good. It's a tetralogy. Absent pulmonary valve. Absent pulmonary valve infundibulum is very much dilated. And anything else? So, what are the conditions which resemble infundibular shadow on the left heart border?
Sir, LA and
Juxtaposed atrial appendage, sir.
Okay.
Juxtaposed atrial appendage.
Yes. Absence of pericardium.
Yes, sir.
Third.
Confluence of pulmonary veins.
Single ventricle with inverted rudimentary chamber. This rudimentary chamber shadow will be projecting onto the left heart border. Okay. And
left atrial enlargement, sir. Left atrial enlargement.
Left atrial enlargement. Why left atrial enlargement comes onto the left heart border? It never comes, no?
Left atrial appendage, sir.
Appendage enlargement, okay. Great. So left atrial appendage enlargement in rheumatic heart disease can also cause bulging on the left heart border. These are all the situations wherein there will be bulging of the left heart border. Either it is because of the left atrial appendage, or it is because of the juxtaposed atrial appendage, or maybe it is because of absence of pericardium with atrial appendage projecting onto the left heart border, or it's an inverted rudimentary chamber, or is a prominent infundibulum. So all these are causes of bulging on the left heart border. Okay. Right.
Sir, how to differentiate this left atrial appendage and this infundibular enlargement, sir?
Enlargement usually be very prominent. Not easy to differentiate, but usually left atrial appendage just causes a slight bulge, whereas infundibulum very prominent. You saw the X-ray in Epstein's?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What will be the shape of the heart shadow described in Epstein's?
This is a box-shaped configuration.
So box-shaped is because of very prominent infundibulum. Infundibulum is very much dilated, so it causes a very prominent shadow on the left heart border, whereas appendage just gives a small bulge. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Right. Shall we go to echo?
Sir, echo findings are there, sir. Echo is not.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Can you see, sir, echo findings?
No, not yet.
Now, sir?
No, still not. Okay, no problem. You can read out.
Sir, echo findings are normal walls, sir. There are no RWMA. LA size is 2.9 centimeter. Aorta size is 2.4. LV dimensions 3.8 into 2.4 centimeters. Ejection fraction is 58%, sir. There is thickened pericardium of 7 mm. Early diastolic flattening of posterior wall, septal bones present, sir. And IVC 2.4 centimeters dilated, non-collapsing. RA, RV are normal sized with intact intra-atrial septum and interventricular septum. Tricuspid inflow shows respiratory variation of more than 50%, and mitral inflow shows variation of more than 30% with the E/A ratio more than 2 with the deceleration time of E wave of 110 milliseconds, sir. Tissue Doppler E prime is 13 centimeter per second, sir. There is a trivial TR with mild pH, RVSP 38 mm of Hg. There is mild pericardial effusion, sir.
Yes. What other mode echocardiographic findings can be seen in constrictive pericarditis?
Sir, mode we can have the septal bounce. We can see by mode. Sir.
Already you mentioned that, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What other mode echocardiographic findings you would look?
Of the pericardium also.
Any premature opening?
Yeah, premature opening of the pulmonary valve, sir, because of increased elevated RUDP, sir.
Should look. See for a premature opening of the pulmonary valve. Okay. Yes. So mitral flow variations are there.
Yes, sir.
Why does it occur? Why doesn't normally?
Sir, here there will be exaggerated respiratory variation, sir, because of this. Normally, the intrathoracic pressures will be transmitted to the intracardiac structures through pericardium, sir. Here there is thickening of pericardium, so that the negative intrathoracic pressure during inspiration not transmitted. So the left atrial pressures will fall. Left-sided pressures will fall, and at the same time, right-sided filling will be more, and it will shift the septum to left side, so causing respiratory variations.
So respiratory variation, the flow across the mitral valve is dependent on the gradient between the pulmonary veins and the left ventricle.
Left ventricle, sir.
So what
So
will
that
happen?
will be decreased.
Inspiration and expiration.
That gradient is decreased in case of inspiration, sir, because pulmonary veins are extrapericardial. So there will be a decreased pressure in the pulmonary veins. The elevated pressures in the LA. In
LV.
case of sir, yes, sir, LV.
So LV it is not decreased. Pulmonary veins it is decreased, but LV is not. It's not decreased, no.
Decreased, sir. Yes, sir. So yes, sir. There will be decreased gradient, sir, between pulmonary.
So why it is decreased gradient?
So because pulmonary veins are extrapericardial, sir, that normal negative intrathoracic pressure is transmitted to the pulmonary veins, so the pressure in the pulmonary veins decreases, whereas left atrium and left ventricle. So because increases.
Because the constriction, negative intrathoracic pressure won't be transmitted to the LV. LV pressure won't decrease. That's the reason why the gradient decreases during
inspiration.
Inspiration. Okay. So that is the reason why there is significant floor variation.
Yes, sir.
Between inspiration and expiration. Normally also there will be some variation, but the variation is greater.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes?
Sir.
Anything else you would like to see in echo? You should always look for ventricular function.
Annulus reverses, annulus paradoxus.
What is that paradox?
Sir, annulus paradoxus is normally in case of diastolic dysfunction, there will be elevated E wave and E prime will be decreased, sir. But in case of constricted pericarditis, E prime will be increased, sir.
Okay. So what is the importance of looking at ventricular function?
Sir, decreased LV function could be associated with restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir.
Right, constriction it won't decrease.
Constrictive, unless in late stages, it won't decrease, sir.
Sometimes it can happen. Fibrotic process can extend onto the myocardium, causing myocardial dysfunction also. That's a very bad prognostic sign in constriction. No?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listening.
If fibrotic process extends into the myocardium, myocardial fibrosis can occur leading to myocardial dysfunction. That can happen with constriction in late phases.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Oh. So finally,
sir, there is cath data is there, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, can you see, sir, cath data?
No.
Other, can you see?
No.
Yeah, now it is seen.
We can see.
Yes, sir. Sir, cath data is hemoglobin is 11 gram per deciliter, sir. Pressure data of femoral artery is 118/78 with mean pressure.
Rajesh, it went off.
It is gone.
It went.
It's
one
there.
minute. 1 minute. I am again project. Now, can you see?
No.
Sir, there is some lag is there, sir.
Yeah, now it is.
It is. It's in.
Yes, sir. Femoral artery pressure is 118/78, sir. Right atrial pressure is mean pressure is 24, sir, and RV is systolic 42, diastolic 0 to 25, sir. End diastolic pressure is 25, sir. Pulmonary arterial pressure, systolic pressure is 40. Sorry, diastolic pressure is 27 and mean pressure is 33, sir. Pulmonary capillary wedge pressure is 27 and LV systolic pressure 110. End diastolic is 24 mmHg, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So
here.
So what does it indicate?
Sir, there is a equalization of RA pressures, RV end diastolic and pulmonary diastolic and pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, sir, and LV-EDP. So equalization of all chambers is there, sir.
Within 5 millimeters.
Yes, sir. Within 5 mm.
So that is indicating
It's more in favor of diastolic dysfunction, sir.
No. You should say diastolic equalization of the pressures.
Pressures, yes, sir.
There are specific terms used for this.
Okay, sir.
So whenever all these diastolic pressures are within 5 millimeters, that is called diastolic equalization of the pressures. So what are the conditions which cause diastolic equalization of the pressures?
Like one of the entities constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Yes.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy also.
Restrictive cardiomyopathy also. And
Tamponade.
cardiac tamponade. Yes.
Tamponade, sir.
Yes, cardiac tamponade, RV infarct, acute pulmonary embolism. So all these things, they can cause diastolic equalization of the pressures.
Sir, but in case of
so tricuspid regurgitation or acute mitral regurgitation, in all these situations, there can be diastolic equalization of the pressures. Anything else?
In all 4 chambers, sir, you mean to say? Or,
yes.
Sir, in case of restrictive cardiomyopathy, generally the diastolic equalization won't be there now, sir.
Why it is not there?
And the pressure difference will be more than 5 mmHg.
Yeah, now you tell us all the
Yes,
differences between restrictive cardiomyopathy and constrictive pericarditis about pressure data.
Yes,
How do we differentiate based on the pressure data?
Pressure data, the difference of pressures is more than 5 mmHg, sir. And the diastolic pressure, sir. Diastolic pressures. End diastolic pressures of RP. All 4 chambers, sir.
No. How can it be? So there will be diastolic equalization. Restrictive cardiomyopathy also.
LV, EDP and RV.
LV, EDP and RV, EDP. There is more than 5 millimeters difference. That is a point in favor of restrictive cardiomyopathy. And pulmonary artery systolic pressure more than 50?
50 is suggestive of restrictive cardiomyopathy, sir. And
RV endostolic pressure?
RV endostolic pressure more than of one third of RVSP, more in favor of constrictive pericarditis.
Constrictive pericarditis, yes.
And
systolic area index.
Systolic area index?
Systolic area index more than 1.1 is suggestive of constrictive pericarditis, sir.
Yes. These differences we can differentiate with restriction. Anything else?
LV rapid filling waves, sir.
How do you know in pressure data? Hello?
So more than 12 millimeter of mercury
more than
constrictive pericarditis.
More than
7,
sir.
sir.
7, more than 7.
Okay.
More than 7. Yes. Okay.
Sir,
Right.
Respiratory variations.
Respiratory variation.
Sir.
Yeah. Sure. Quickly, please.
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you see, sir? No.
No.
Wait. No, yeah.
Sir.
No.
Sir, 1 minute.
Okay. Anyhow, we have discussed pressure data. No?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt? Now it is. Now it has come.
Yes, sir. There is. Sir. there is LV
Family
and
strength of
pulmonary
LV and pulmonary artery which
Yes.
Sir, there is this is tracing of LV and LV diastolic pressure and pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, sir, overlap tracing. So showing there is a LV rapid, there is a dip, sir, and early diastolic there is a rapid dip followed by mid to late diastolic equalization is there, sir, between LV dip, LV pressure, diastolic pressure and pulmonary capillary wedge pressure.
Okay.
So here the rapid filling wave is more than 7, sir, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And one more tracing, sir. There's LV EDP and RV EDP overlap tracing also is there, sir. So the diastolic pressures are equalized, sir, in both the cases. Yes, yes, sir.
LV and RVDPs are over, equal.
Yes, sir, equal, sir.
Okay. Here not seeing the tracing. Now
There is some lag, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. Now it is seen.
Yes, yes, sir. There is equalization of diastolic pressures of the LV and RV, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And they have taken LV, EDP and RA pressure overlap tracing also, sir. So that is also showing equalization of pressure, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's all.
Yes, sir. That's all, sir.
Okay. Right. We'll stop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
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 you